Hello everybody, Reggie Time here again with another episode of The Poker is Boring. This is like the fourth episode and the second episode where I'm reviewing a recent session I played on Sky. The series seems to be going down pretty well. We're getting some decent views, some decent likes. If you are enjoying my content or you want to help just give me some feedback, please do hit the like button. If you're enjoying things, please don't be shy doing that. Please share my videos, and if you're not already a subscriber, please hit subscribe. I would like to get to 1,000 subscribers by Christmas. We're still 200 short, but we're pushing on. Hopefully we'll get there. So please like, share, subscribe, and enjoy the video. So this session I played on Sky was now maybe close to a week ago, so it's going to be like less and less fresh in my memory. So fingers crossed I'll be coming at it with like a completely fresh perspective. And we're going to pause when we get to like any reasonably interesting spots. We're going to try and get through the video relatively quickly, but if we see anything particularly interesting, we're going to stop. So up here against Ray, we have the Ace King. He bets 20 pence on the river. This is clearly a raise. Not sure what happened on the turn, to be honest. In fact, I'm not sure what's happened in the entire pot, so let's rewind back and look. This is on table 1 up here. So we've got the button, we've raised to 60 pence. Raise called. Golden balls looks like he's going to fold. The 5-3-5 flop, Ray donks. I'm going to be, well, I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but I think I'd like to ignore this donk and just make a small raise here to like 80 pence, something like that, and then take it from there. And we just called. Can't say I'm a big fan of that. I think raising would have been slightly better. We pair the king on the turn, and now we definitely need to be raising. Let's see us raise to maybe 120, 140 maybe, 120, yeah, like that. He calls, and he bets 20 pence on the river. And again here, I think I'd like to see us now. There's 419 in the pot. A raise somewhere in the order of £2 seems reasonable to me. Looks like we're going to maybe go slightly bigger to 280, £3, 360 even. I think this sizing is going to make it hard for us to get called by the type of hands I want to get called by, which when he takes this line, I think it's going to be stuff like that we're beating, by the way. I mean, obviously, if he's got a 5, he's just going to do something else. But in terms of hands that we're trying to get called by that and beating, I'm not sure what there is, unless he's just like paired the king with some weird random donk on the flop. Is most likely he's going to have ace highs, maybe some 3x that's just doing weird shit. I'm not sure. I think this raise is too big though. I think making a bigger raise to try and like polarize ourselves against something like Ray isn't going to work too well, because he's not going to be thinking that way. So I think this is too big now. I'd rather sim myself, just make it £2. To get called by lots of different hands, and he just folds. Down here we have the nuts against Clayton. He's led into us. Let's see what's going on in this pot. Where we are here. So we've raised pre-flop. We've got it flopped a straight draw. Clayton checks. We bet small. I like that. It's in line with my current strategy of pretty much betting small with a big number of hands in position. Turn the nuts. Nice. Clayton leads into us for £2.40. At this point, I'm thinking he's probably got a hand he likes. 2 pairs, unlikely sets, stuff like that. He bets 240. I see no reason not to raise at this point, and possibly make like a reasonable size raise. £20 left behind still. I'd like to see me make this maybe anything like 7 to 9 is going to be fine here, depending on what I think about Clayton. Let me make it 8, which is completely fine. Clayton shoves. We obviously call, and remember this hand now, it's all very dull. We just chop the pot. As you can see, I'm turning down plenty of opportunities to 3-bet out of position with marginal hands. We've had the king, queen there. Not marginal, but like decent hands that we could easily 3-bet. We had the ace-10 suited. So with the king, queen on table 4 that we let's just call from the small blind. A couple of hands early in the ace-10 suited here. It's just part of my strategy. It's part of the way I play. I'm not that into 3-betting unpaired cards out of position versus fish. We're going to miss the flop too often, and there's not going to be too many ways we're going to want to be able to continue. It's just a style thing for me. I don't do it. Is the value in it? Probably. Do I think there's more value in doing what I do, which is seeing flops, keeping pots small, and then looking to extract decent value when we make a hand? In these games, absolutely yes. In tougher games, if I was playing Zoom or what have you, or Snap or Fast Forward, I would almost certainly be 3-betting those hands with an incredibly higher frequency. No problem, just take pots down pre-flop versus better players. But I'm not interested in taking pots down pre-flop against fish. I'm wanting to see flops. I'm wanting to hit more home runs. Like in fast forward games, you're happy to take a lot of small wins, be like a pinch hitter, just take a small win here, a small win there. Like just win pots pre-flop with 3-bets and things. I'm wanting to do that much more against players that I don't think have a big advantage against post-flop. But in these tables, when I just got green players everywhere, and for those of you who don't know, green tags are losing, like, fishy players. I'm just not that bothered about 3-betting with king, queen off, ace-10 suited. We're going to be out of position, especially, because they call too often, we miss too often, and it's just not that easy to continue then against players who have wide ranges. You've no idea where you're at in the hand. You've no idea whether to bet for value, whether to bet as a bluff. No idea what they're going to call you with. In that position, you don't know anything about the hand because you're going to be out of position to them. So I just prefer keeping pots much smaller and then just relying on the fact that when I do make a hand post flop, I'm not going to have a huge problem getting value for it. So that's why we're not 3-betting hands. I'm sure some of you guys are thinking, why didn't you 3-bet this? Why didn't you 3-bet that? I just don't think we need to blow up pots out of position against players that are just calling stations with unpaired hands in particular. Again, we're just calling here against Ouija with the ace-king. We could easily 3-bet this hand. But if we 3-bet the hand here, Ouija's going to play pretty well versus us, you would imagine. And we're going to probably freeze these two fish out of the pot. So I'd much rather have position and give Ouija a chance to hit the flop too, and give these two guys a chance to stay in the pot rather than 3-bet here. I make it £2.70 here, £3, whatever. These guys probably fold. Sometimes Ouija 4-bets me, which isn't a disaster because we have ace-king. But again, I'm not into that pre-flop pissing contests. I'm not into pre-flop dick, whatever you want to call them, against regulars when there's fish at the table. Again, if this is a Zoom hand and they were all regulars, this would be a super standard 3-bet. But it's not a Zoom hand. They're not all regulars, and I want to see flops in position with a decent range of hands against guys who are going to make tons of mistakes post-flop, i.e. Ferret and team game. And if we keep 3-betting pre-flop and blasting them out of the pot, they can't make mistakes against us post-flop if they're not in the pot. So we just call, giving up a little bit of pre-flop EV for sure, hopefully to make tons of extra money post-flop. I have no idea what Ouija's doing here. He's kind of obviously, with nothing we can do, we took a small stab with the ace-king on this board, in line with my strategy of just like stabbing lots. In position when check too. So we took our stab. It's a small bet. We're not aiming to do anything other than just pick up the pot like against the hands that we're already ahead of. Ouija puts in a check raise here because clearly we're both quite weak. I don't mind his play. He ends up, I remember this hand now, I think he ends up just showing some random bluff, which is fine. It leads to a couple of fun spots later with Ouija, because I think he was definitely starting trying to exploit me. He got out of line a little bit, or I felt he was getting out of line. And I'm not sure if we'll make it to this point in this video, but there is a couple of interesting spots then going forward. So here we flat with the Jack-7. We've got the 2 9s down here on a very unfavourable board. So we just call with the 9s versus small bets. And we decide to call the river, and I'm going to guess we're going to lose. And we lose to the ace-6, which is whatever. When people are betting tiny, I don't mind there. We call down. We know we'll probably beat. but we're getting such a good price. How can we fold? Here against Ray, he's fired out a pot-sized c-bet on this board. We have a flush draw and a gut shot. Don't remember this hand. What would I like to see myself do? If I was playing this hand again from scratch here, let's go back to pre-flop, because that's not sure what the pre-flop action was. Oops, it's in too much in the hand there. So we had the Jack-7 suited. We've raised pre-flop. Raised put the min 3-bet in. We've called. Okay. Then we flop a pair and a gut shot. Ray pots it. I think I'd like to see myself raise here and just commit to this hand. Yeah, we're not going to get Ray off overpairs. I get that. But if Ray doesn't have an overpair, if Ray just has an ace king, an ace queen, an ace jack, who knows what else, like pocket 8 or something, who knows. I think we have some fold equity. Maybe I've looked back at this when I'm playing it and it looks like we're maybe going to see some turns and rivers. Maybe I just put Ray on like too much of a narrow, strong range and just wanted to try and hit against it and win that way. I just like try and make a heart or an 8 and take Ray's entire stack. But I actually think there's some merit here to just put in a big raise in and just whatever. If we have to get the money in, we're going to be close to a coin flip against his overpairs. And maybe sometimes he just folds and what have you. Maybe sometimes we're even 1 or ahead, but we're not as far behind as we think. If Ray just has 2 unpaired cards that he decides to go crazy with, then we've got even more equity. I mean, calling can't be terrible, but we're out of position. We're facing a pot-sized bet. If we miss, we're likely to face a turn doozy of a bet as well. Then we probably won't want to call. I think I'd rather see myself raise here, make it like £8 and just commit, or maybe just go all in possibly sometimes, and like just go for the big fuck you Ray. If you've got like ace king, fold it now please. So yeah, I'd like to see myself raise here, and anything from like £6 to all in I think would be fine. I like to just call and we miss the turn. Ray fortunately checks back. We hit a jack on the river, which may or may not be good for us, I'm not sure. But when he checks back, the question is now, do I want to value bet? Do I want to check again? Given Ray's checked back, I think we can think about value betting here against a good player, because he might just put us on 2 missed hearts and call us with whatever. But then again, we can just check and bluff catch too. I think I prefer. I think in this situation, when we've check called the flop with a gut shot, with a flush draw against a regular who's then checked back the turn, I think we can bet this river to try and rep all the missed draws. The missed hearts and what have you, and hopefully, who knows, they call down with ace king, pocket 8s, 10x, who knows what. But against a fishy play, I think I might just prefer just bluff catching. And we do check, he goes all in, and we can't really bluff catch this all in, I don't think. No idea what Ray's doing here, no idea what he's got. Genuinely no idea, but I think calling here would not be good. And this hand just hasn't gone very well for us, basically. Hasn't gone well at all. And I guess we're just going to fold. On table 4, we flopped top pair cup, top kicker in a multi-way pot. We've gone for the small stab on the flop, which I think's okay. Maybe rather see me bet a little bit bigger, to be frank. Again, we're going for the small turn bet. At this point, I'm really happy with the hand, of course. And then the river. And at this point, I remember thinking that Ark was like quite an aggressive player. Looks like I'm going for the all-in, which is going to be like, what, about 130% pot. Which I don't mind, of course, because, you know, we've got trip jacks, and if he's got jack king, jack queen, anything like that, we're going to get paid. But maybe a bunch of draws have missed again. I guess the unfortunate thing is if he has 10-9, he can just check back if we check. But is he going to call an all-in with 10-9? Probably not. It looks like I'm winding up for an all-in here. And again, I prefer the all-in against a good player, against someone who thinks to fish, and maybe prefer checking to induce some bluffs, or just betting small to get hero called by whatever that isn't like super cooled, like 8x or whatever. So I don't think I'm going to like the all-in here. I think I'd prefer to see myself check, and I arc instantly folded. So it's interesting that even though I'd made some adjustments to this session from like a couple of videos ago, I'm still noticing ways to improve my game. And I think the over betting versus fish doesn't work as well as it does against regulars in terms of getting hero calls. And that might sound silly, but fish get to the rivers with like way weaker ranges, so over betting as a bluff's going to work pretty well against them, but over betting for value isn't. I think maybe I can switch to start like when I'm going bet with my stronger hands, bet versus fish. Maybe using a smaller river size rather than a jam is going to work better than bet jam versus regulars who are going to get to the river with slightly stronger ranges, especially on like balls like the ace jack was, where I can have lots of draws that miss. Go for the overbet there to try and get some hero calls from players who are maybe capable of thinking on the level where, yeah, this guy can have some flush draws and do this, and maybe hero call more. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just overthinking the entire situation with regards to overbets, and maybe we should just be doing overbets in position versus capped ranges and not necessarily doing them out of position very much at all. I'm not sure. It's something I still need to give a bit of thought to. I think my strategy of lots of small bets with a high frequency in position with a view to overbetting plenty of rivers both for value and bluffs works really well. Still haven't refined it properly out of position. I've started to lean more to when out of position betting with a much lower frequency and using bigger sizes, which I think seems to feel like it's working pretty well, and just kind of having like a totally different strategy for playing in and out of position. Two completely different strategies seems to be working quite well. It makes sense to me. Not going to say it's not pretending it's perfect, but I think it does what it's meant to do. It keeps me out of trouble in position, out of position, and allows me to get into spots of bother in position, because just having positional advantage is going to allow us to extricate ourselves from a lot of those problems a lot easier than we can when we're out of position. Being out of position just really sucks. I don't like it. I don't think anyone really likes it, do they? Even when you've got a big hand out of position, it's hard to get maximum value for it. When you've got a marginal hand, it's really not very hard to overplay it and lose too much. Being out of position in modern poker, it's always hard. Even against fish, it's hard out of position, but it's getting harder and harder. So I'd prefer to just out of position, keep things pretty snug, don't get into trouble, just like concede pots to people where they've got marginal hands, and then in position maybe get out of line a little bit. We need to make a bet on the turn here against French that allows us to shove the river. It's really not hard when he's got this stack size. Pretty much any bet allows us to do that, so we don't have to think too much about it. Although a pound ironically doesn't do that, because now we're left with a slight overbet. I probably should have made that slightly more like 140, 150, something like that. And then we get a bad river. He bets. We can't afford this matter whether we want to jam or call, and he just randomly has the queen 8. Guess we could have made more money in that hand for sure by just making a slightly larger turn bet. Open and straight draw on table 3. Shaky bets 40 pence. There's no reason to do anything but call here. We could raise, I guess. 2 overcards and the open and straight draw versus 2 pretty weak ranges in what can Af have when he just costs 40 pence here. Probably nothing. So we could raise here. Actually, I think I'm starting to like a raise more than the call, but we're getting like ridiculous pot odds. We're getting 6-1 pot odds or whatever, so I think I prefer just calling and trying to make the nuts. But we do go for a raise, which I think is completely fine. I think either raising or calling is okay there. We turn the nuts, which is pretty pleasant. No point betting small on this board. If someone's got an ace, we want to get maximum value from them. Or a 6, of course, because we crush the 6 and then the 7 on the river isn't far from ideal, but we set the pot up to shove, so we just shove. And he calls with just the ace-5, which is pretty poor call on the river there. But I will take it. Happy with that. So again here we're getting squeezed by Ouija on table 2. It's going to be another fold, and he was starting to get out of line with these 3 bets. There's a thing on Sky, I mean, we're each to our own, we each have our own styles, but I just think this is like pretty unnecessary on Sky. Players just aren't going off pre-flop and just getting 30, 40, 50, 60 big blinds in with like weak hands. Of course, the odd nutter is, but they're mostly just like loose passive. So yeah, he gets to pick up some dead money here. I get that, he gets to like pick up dead money in the pot, but there's just way more value in my opinion. If he has a strong hand here, there's just way more value in my opinion in just letting us both see flops against him. I'm not going to be getting 2 out of line versus him, and it gives him a chance to just let team game flop a top pair and give him all of his chips. Obviously, I'm not saying it's bad. It isn't bad. Of course, it can't be bad, like squeezing here. You have a tight player opening, a loose player calling. It's a perfect squeeze spot. Don't blame the guy for taking it. I'm just not sure it's optimal when you're playing in super fishy games on Sky. Just constantly squeezing the fish out of pots or try to squeeze fish out of pots. I don't think it works as well as seeing flops with fish with strong hands and then like maximising post-flop value versus them. It's just my style again. It's my style versus other people's styles. But I just don't think the pre-flop dick waving and pissing contest stuff needs to happen when you're in soft games. Tough games, yeah, Ouija his strategy that he's employing is going to work pretty damn well. It's not going to work as well in these games. It's going to work, of course. He's going to make money with it, but I don't think he's going to be maximising value on his hands by doing this. In which now he's probably just going to get maximum value from team game. Shut my mouth. Nope, team game folds. And yeah, he's just showing some random bluff, and that's fine, but I mean, does he really need to be bluffing with 5-9 off there? I mean, I think that's just spewy. Yeah, he's won the pot, he's going to feel really good about himself. But it just doesn't seem necessary to me. It really doesn't. And if you're going to do that, don't show the 5-9 off, because it just shows someone who's overconfident, who's complacent, and there's just no reason to show that hand. Dick Weber, yeah, there we go, Ouija. And I don't want to insult Ouija because he's probably a decent player and he seems like an okay guy. He doesn't get involved in the chat at the table or anything like that, so I'm not trying to get involved with him, not trying to set him off. And then just squeezing 5-9 off suit when there's a fish in the pot is just seems excessive to me. It seems like there's no real reason to be doing it. There's not much going on here at the minute. We're just cycling through a period of being card dead. An interesting situation here. We have the pocket tens on table 1. Snowman is opened. He's an orange tag player. To be frank, I don't know much about him. Not sure why he's an orange tag. It could be a long-term historical tag, because I don't really know much about Snowman at all. I can't say I've got any particular opinions on his play. And Ark's coming for the 3-bet. Now, Ark struck me as somebody who was relatively aggressive. But at the same time, again, do I really need to be getting cold 4-betting here and getting 10s in pre-flop for 100 blinds? Lots of guys would. Lots of guys would just cold 4-bet here to whatever, like £4.60, £5, £5.20, something like that. And then just get the money in versus Ark. I think I prefer just folding and moving on. We've got the open. We don't know what Snowman's doing. We've got the 3-bet, which, even against an aggressive player, is probably on Sky going to represent some kind of like pre-flop strength that pocket tens isn't doing that well against. And even if we are, we're not going to get to realise all that. Because if we 4-bet and get it in, I'm going to be flipping or crushed. If we just cold call, there's going to be lots of boards that we're not going to know what to do. If we just cold call, Snowman can open the bet. We're opening the bet into Snowman again, so he could just 4-bet and then put us in a tough spot. I think I prefer just folding here and not bothering too much, which I do. With the gut shot and the backdoor flush draw here on table 3, I think I like to see myself put a small raise in, just something to around like £81, something like that. And we just take it down. God bless speeding videos up, because we're going through quite a dull patch at the moment. Say God bless. I'm an absolute confirmed atheist, so quite why I'd say God bless is beyond me. Apparently I have a hand on table 1. See, we're going for this small bet size again here on table 1. I prefer to just make it bigger. And I would do now with my slightly adjusted strategy. I think there was 110 in the flop, was there? Sorry, 120, whatever there was. I'd have made it much closer. I'd made it at least 80 pence. Again, we're going for a small bet here. Again, I prefer to see this bet up in the region of 140, 150. And then that's not an ideal river. But I think we can still think about going for some value. Not sure what from exactly. I guess we could check and then see if we can just get him to bet with like all the straight draws that have missed some flush draws. The problem with these flush draws is some of them are going to be nut flush draws. In fact, I don't think I want to see myself bet here. I think I'd probably rather see myself check and call all bets up to like a pot size bet here. And yeah, sometimes you're going to show up with 6, but it's also going to have like a plethora of missed straight draws and flush draws. So yeah, actually, my first instinct was still bet because the pot's small, but I'm actually now thinking maybe we can consider checking. And he bets 20 pence. And now I think we need to raise. 20 pence is not enough here. Probably make it like 160 and hope he calls with who knows what. I think calling is just going to be too weak. When we raise, if he 3-bets, we're probably going to have to fold, which kind of sucks, but against this bet size, just calling would be, it just feels too weak. And then he does that. And yeah, so we kind of, yeah, whatever. I guess we just have to fold. And just accept that we're going to lose to a 6 most of the time. Kind of weird hand. I'm going to raise the 4s here on table 1, of course. Into Raymondo. Not a great turn card against the Snowman. I think we probably need to bet this river now, given that the turn check back when the flush draw got there. Just likely he's got lots of 2 pairs and things, so I think we just bet here maybe anything from £3 to full pot. I'm going to be pretty fine with. I bet £4. And we get the fold. Don't remember this session being as dull as this video's been. Poker is boring is certainly an apt title for this particular episode. Let's go back and look at that ace-5 hand. We've called a 4x at the big blind, which I think is completely standard. We've flopped up pair, a gut shot, checks through, we check back. Looks like our opponent doesn't have very much, as it now knows we turns up with pocket kings, so he completely owns us in this pot, but whatever. He then decides to check raise. I mean, our bet's really small here. It's kind of just tiny bit of value, and just to, like, you know, I should probably bet bigger. But I've been doing this a lot, just betting really small versus, like, ranges where I don't feel anybody has anything. I think 40 pence is too small. I would rather see myself bet 60, I think, but it's not such a big issue. And he decides to, like, at this point, to min raise his kings on this board, which is, I think we're both just flailing around like two fucking idiots in this pot. To which I just call. I mean, we can't fold. I don't like it, of course, but we can't fold. Given what he's got now, I would really like to have seen me make a raise, but fuck it, maybe it wouldn't have worked. And then he bets small enough on the river where we just have to call. He bets like 170. Like, what 4x does he have that, like, raises out of the small blind? Probably not many. And it looks like it's, like, who would really play an overpair this way? Clearly, all hands in does play an overpair this way, but not many players do. I don't love the call, don't hate it, or whatever. It's pretty amusing that he turns up with kings. I didn't play the hand well, he didn't play the hand well, but he won it, and he got decent value for his hand, so fair play to him, I guess. I'm not sure about that call down versus Ark. My read at the time was that he was pretty bad aggressive and pretty bluffy. So, I mean, I guess it's okay with the 2 sevens. It worked out that time, of course, because we won. Yeah, not much more to say about it, I don't think. It's one of those calls that's probably not going to make us a lot of money, but against the right players, we probably have to make it. And at that time, I clearly felt that Ark was the right player to make that type of call against. As you can see, we're still just employing a small bet in position strategy. We need to continue here against Ouija. He's been the pre-flop raiser. He's just check called this flop. The turns a break shouldn't really change very much, but what just check calls the flop from his perspective? King X doesn't, not given how we think Ouija plays. We think he's aggressive, but we don't think he has a king. We don't think he has a flush draw. Maybe he has stuff like ace queen, but I think even they see bet with someone like with Ouija's profile, probably see bets ace queen too. So I think he's going to have a lot of just under pairs and just random stuff that didn't want to fold. So I think Betting again, he's absolutely in order. I'm probably betting the river too. It's just about when I'm going to triple barrel quite a lot versus aggressive players who are taking like pretty weak lines. And I'm in position. Should do bet again, pretty small, and he just folds. And that's obviously a good result for us with Queen High. Might well have been the best hand, who knows, but still, nevertheless, it's a fine result. Probably going to let the video run for another 2 or 3 minutes and just make this a 45-minute video. I think the hour's a bit too long. I made an hour one last time. I think it's too long. Given we're going to go multi-way here with the queens and all the things I said earlier about trying to keep fishing pots, we are not going to be out of position here in the multi-way pot, which wouldn't be ideal. And yeah, this is going to look like I'm contradicting what I said earlier. If this had just been maybe a 2-way pot, I would consider calling it. We're out of position in a multi-way pot with 2 green tagged players. We just need to raise this. This is like different to the situation I talked about earlier. And I suppose I explain why it's different. The last pot, when I was not complaining, but observing that Ouija's 3-bet squeezing was just blasting fish out of pots. He was in position against the fish and out of position to me. If this was a situation where Ouija had opened from this position, BA called on the button, I could see myself, or maybe that the small blind calls, so I'm going to have position on the 1 fish in the hand. I think calling is going to be okay there. It gives us a chance to see some flops, check, let the aggressor bet, let the fish call on the blind, and then maybe do something like raise or something on good flops for us, and maybe try and trap the fish in a big pot. But then when we're going to be out of position and kind of in a 4-way pot, how this looks like it's going to be, it's not going to be anywhere near as favourable. Flops are going to check through way more often, so we're going to be tempted to go for check raises on low boards and then have the flop check through, which isn't ideal. So because it's like the extra player in the pot, I think that and given that the fish is raised, not the regulars raised, which means the fish can call with a wider range, I think it's just a better spot just to squeeze. I'd like to see myself make it quite big too. I wouldn't want to see myself go much lower than £4.50 here. Let's see what I do. I should make it even bigger, which I'm completely fine with. Don't mind putting a bit of extra meat on it. BA just call. And then we get a not ideal flop. And again, the read I have on BA is he can be spewy and quite aggressive, so I'm quite happy to use his hand to bluff catch with. So I end up trying to get some value on the river. Don't know if I get any or not. Be grim if we got raised there, but we didn't, and there we go. Not sure I like that lead out there with the ace deuce. Yeah, I'm not sure how I like these hand, but we talked about this in the last video. I think these small bets out of position is something I've already stopped doing. In position, I like them a lot. Out of position, not a fan. And I'm not doing that anymore. I don't think it's good. Sometimes you've got to try doing things and then look back and think, yeah, that hasn't worked, that isn't good, or whatever. If you don't try things, if you're always just doing what you always did, then you'll always get the same results. I'm constantly trying new things. Some things work really well, some things don't work too well. Betting small out of position with marginal hands doesn't work particularly well, so I'm not doing it much anymore. And I think being a hero here against Ark, I understand why I've done it. I end up calling here, and I think I remember correctly, I'll lose the pot. But I've been like calling Ark down quite a bit, and he's always like never had it. Always never. Weird shit English there. So yeah, I understand why I've called this river. The king pairing's really good for us because it means the less kings he can have. Obviously, like the flush draws and things I've missed, we block ace jack, we block jack 9. So I get why I've called, but I think we don't need to be paying off these sort of bet sizes with hands as bad as this. I think with the queen it's a little bit closer, but yeah, I think we can think about folding this. And he just turned up with the nuts. I think I ended up going back and looking at the way he's played some different pots and his sizings and stuff, and I think there's maybe a slight sizing turn there. I decided to can't remember exactly what it is, but yeah, I'm not super impressed with my call there. Yes, that was like me, the sizing read that I got on him, that he actually went much smaller with value hands. Which you don't know, of course, until you get in situations with him. But he'd been betting bigger in previous hands, like in terms of like a percentage of the pot. So you don't know until you get the read, do you? But whatever, it is what it is. So I'll watch these kings through, I think, then we'll wrap it up for this video, unless there's another hand going on at the end of the kings, but we are looking to wrap it up pretty soon. I'm going to go pretty big here versus Clayton. Just looks like he's going to have an ace a lot of the time, and he folds. And it looks like there's not much else going on, so we'll find this is the time to like pause the video. We're about 2/3 of the way through the video now. Is like maybe another 45 minutes to look at. So we're gonna get one more video out of this. And if you guys are enjoying like the Sky video reviews, please let me know in the comments, because I'm happy to keep doing them. If there's a desire for them. If not, then maybe we'll do some live play videos. Maybe we'll bring back the 13L snap videos, which I did a couple of years ago, which were really quite popular. I don't know, let me know what you want me to do with the videos. I've still got sorry to Umbongo if you're still watching, I've still got your video to review. I haven't got around to doing it yet. I will do it by the end of the week. We'll end up reviewing the rest of this video maybe tomorrow or the day after, and then my next job is going to be reviewing your video. I will get around to it. I haven't forgotten about it. We just finish this bit off, and then we'll watch you, and then we'll see where we go from there. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video again. Let me know what you think. Share, like, comment, subscribe, all those things, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye for now.